Brodes Media.
What is going on, everyone? Before we dive into the action, on Twitter at Brodes Media, we are running a giveaway right now where you can win a Bryce Harper jersey. It's pinned to the top of the profile. It's so simple. Retweet the tweet and hit that follow button. Also, if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well. And with that, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. What a fantastic day at the ballpark, except for the fact that I was sitting in basically 108 degrees for 3.5 hours and pouring sweat just coming down my face. And I should have listened to my fiance who said, "Hey, babe, maybe you should put on some sunscreen." And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take it with me and I'll put it on when I'm in the parking lot. Why would I actually listen and apply the sunscreen? And here I am. My legs are basically red as hell. My entire body from my chest up, red as hell. But it was all worth it because the Phillies rung the bell. Damn it. The Phillies got a monster win. And I thought that win was extremely important. There's a huge difference between getting swept by the Dodgers in Citizens Bank Park and grinding out a victory, a 2-1 win against a team that, you look at their lineup and it's not the best Dodgers lineup they can provide. They throw Albert Pujols in the mix at 97 years old in this type of heat, and they had to yank him from the baseball game. Probably couldn't really hang. Just crazy, that he's even doing it, that he's still competing at this level and he's still playing, although it's not the same as it used to be. Back in the day, imagine this scenario in Albert Pujols' prime, where De Los Santos is going to intentionally walk the Dodgers to get to Albert Pujols. You want nothing to do with him, but it has absolutely changed considering where he's at in his career. But I digress. The Phillies took an early lead because of Bryce Harper, who just crushed one. And it's basically ridiculous to think about how he gets so much power on some of these swings. There's so many times where you're watching him fully make contact and you wonder, in what universe can a human being drive the ball to this level? That thing was murdered. That ball was crushed over the wall for a 1-0 lead. The Phillies even pounce on more. It was a bullpen game, though. And when I say more, and then I mentioned bullpen, that almost seemed or sounded like I was referencing Matt Moore and the Phillies bullpen. Not what I meant at all. It was a bullpen game from the Dodgers, but the Phillies added more runs on when we are looking into that fourth inning where 2 walks occurred. Bryce Harper got walked. Didi Gregorius got walked. Here's Ronald Torreyes, my everyday third baseman. Let me say that one more time. My everyday third baseman, Ronald Torreyes, in the fourth inning, just provides. That's what he does. Here's Bryce Harper busting his ass to get to home plate. Now it's 2-0. Bases loaded, Andrew Knapp, and I'll tell you what happened for free. Got out. Now this ball, it was actually a nice swing. It was a nice cut. It was a line drive out to center field. He did not make bad contact. It was good. It was a good, solid stroke. Just unfortunately, it did not benefit Andrew Knapp. The problem is later on in the game, we're talking an ability to blow it wide open, and Andrew Knapp grounds out the second base. And here's just some statistics, by the way, courtesy of Bob Wankel, who covers the Phillies for Crossing Broad. When you look at Andrew Knapp's numbers so far this year, he is... Okay, so this is the part that I thought was interesting. After posting a career-best 278 batting average and an 849 OPS in 33 games last year, Knapp is in the midst of the worst offensive season of his career. His diminished contact rate is a big part of the diminished numbers. After striking out in 26.4% of his at-bats last season, that number has jumped to roughly 40% this season. So such a monster difference for Andrew Knapp, and that's a problem. The level of production you're getting from the backup catcher right now. And ultimately, you have JT Realmuto. And that's the most important part, because when you pay him the big cash, he's going to be the ones out there in big games. He's going to be the one catching when we're talking about real action. when you're talking about must-win situations, right? But still, if you think about 162, it would be nice to have something significantly better than what Andrew Knapp's doing. If he gave you what he did last year, I mean, that's a huge difference. That's a lot of success from the backup catcher, but it is night and day. And this is more what we've seen in the past from Andrew Knapp than, let's say, last year in that short run. You're talking about a 60-game season where he played 33 games. Yeah, that's nowhere even close to a big enough sample size to know Andrew Knapp. We've seen worse Andrew Knapp, way more. That's for damn sure. So, 2-0 after the fourth inning. Here's what I think is interesting, and going back to that same article that I read. Entering the fifth inning at 67 pitches, Girardi opted to push Suarez for one more inning. Now, I did not have a problem with that. I wanted to get the pitch count. That's why I specifically brought up that section of Bob Wankel's post-game blog on Crossing Broad. I remember sitting there in the stand saying, you got to push Ranger. Please, let's have a sense of urgency. Please, let's try and win this ball game. Stop worrying about 3 games from now. They're always thinking 3 or 4 games ahead, which I don't think is irrational. That is a part of managing because the bullpen is one domino effect. But if you never focus on the now and always focus on the future, it really is setting yourself up for failure. You got to find a good balance of it, especially when the Braves are winning baseball games. Now, they fell today to the Cincinnati Reds, which is going to impact the Phillies, and it puts them in an advantage, but you can still smell the Braves, and the Braves smell blood when they're thinking about the National League East. And my buddy and I, who went to the game, we were hanging out at Xfinity Live before, having a couple cold ones, and we basically brought up thinking about the Braves because we saw a bunch of highlights being played on TV. It would feel right, with all due respect to the Phils and no respect to the Mets, and actually a lot of respect, I guess, for the Braves. If the Braves ended up, even after all the injuries that happened to Acuna into the starting pitching early and Freddie Freeman's slow start, if they were to win the division, it would feel right. It would, because, deep down, they are honestly probably the best team in the division, and maybe not telling you because it's the best Braves team we have seen over the last couple of years. That's not the case. But, the moves they made at the deadline helped them out big time. Big difference from where they were. Cruising. I don't know. It would just feel right, in my opinion, if that made sense. But getting back to Ranger Suarez. Joe let him back in the fifth for 67 pitches. He strikes out Cody Bellinger and then allows 2 on. So De Los Santos has to clean up the mess. I can't stand watching De Los Santos, but he comes in. He allows 1 run, but the 1 run was applied to Ranger Suarez. It could have been a lot worse. That's the way that I kind of look at it. It was 2-0. It ends up being 2-1. I'll take 2-1. If you tell me I'm forced to utilize De Los Santos and he only gives up 1 run, once again, credited to Ranger Suarez, but, he could have got 4. Could have given up 5. So any day of the week, I'll be okay with 1. He had a wild pitch, too, though. And good defense by Didi. The throw to Brad Miller. Was his foot on the bag? Was it off the bag? My honest opinion, I thought his foot came off the bag, but I could understand if there was not enough evidence to overturn it. Keep in mind, watching it on the TV broadcast, maybe there was more information given out by the broadcast team and things of that nature about what they saw when they went to the replay booth. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there was some information. I guess they don't really know, so what the hell am I saying right now? I don't know. The heat got to me. Okay, there was a lot of sun, and there was a lot of it going into my head, and my brain turned into mush. So I'm doing the best I can! Getting back to the game, of course. When you think about it, maybe the foot was on. Maybe the foot was off. But here's what I do know. Didi Gregorius made a lot of good plays, whether he's dive into his left, gets up, sets his feet, whether his body is not even facing the right way and he's running left and throwing right, bang, whether it hits Ranger Suarez's glove and it somewhat redirects, but he still is able to get in front of the baseball and throw it over. That was probably the sharpest Didi Gregorius we have seen defensively in quite some time. So I'm hoping that turns the corner, because if you apply that defense with his power numbers, we're going to be talking about third base and shortstop in a different way. Because right now, it's what do you do with Didi, and what do you do with Freddie Galvis, and what do you do with Torreyes? Well, I think you know what the answer is with Torreyes. I really don't have to stress it enough. We can just go through the Alec Boehm highlight package this season so far, and I'll let you know exactly how I feel about Alec Boehm and where he should be playing. We already know the answer, and we see him over there at the hot corner. Okay, damn it. Okay, how about this bullpen? Getting into the action. I've yet to even mention Ian Kennedy. That was nuts with Marquez behind the dish. What the hell was going on? Neris, 1 inning. Bradley, 2 innings. Ian Kennedy, 1. So, Marquez, I honestly don't like the Seager one even more. The Seager pitch low on the inside part of the plate. I think what happened, if you go back and watch it on the full count, right? The way that Andrew Knapp tries to frame the pitch, I think he intensified the glove movement so much that it almost tricked Marquez into thinking that it was below the strike zone, and he moved it up. Instead of pinning it on the corner, Knapp kind of pinned it and brought it up a bit to try and frame it more in the zone, and I think he exaggerated it just a little bit too much. That made it seem the original spot was off, but it was no doubt about it, right on the inside part of the plate, right on that inside corner there. That was such a magnificent pitch. And then we talk about Cody Bellinger. I mean, come on, man. That's another one where it's up, but it's the upper part of the plate. Inside corner. Every right for Joe Girardi to go out there and start screaming. And the ovation by the fans. Here I am. Attaboy Joe! Attaboy Joe! Kick dirt on him, Joe! Punch him in the teeth, Joe! I didn't scream that one. It was just your basic natural reaction. I told him to kick dirt. I left the teeth part out of it. But it was incredible for Joe, the energy rise that happened in the ballpark once that happened. He had every right, though. I mean, there was 2 times where Ian Kennedy got the last strike that he was looking for. Not only that, the experience anytime Ian Kennedy's out there is just bizarre. He ends up hitting a batter. Now it's bases loaded. I'm starting to get nervous. I tweeted this out right after the game was over. The Ian Kennedy experience is something, huh? Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the message that was delivered. The amount of responses, Brodes, it's not his fault. Oh my God, did you see the calls? Did you even watch the game? Probably came back my way 25 times as if, I'm at the game. You know I'm at the game. I've been tweeting about being at the game. Here's what I don't understand. Saying the Ian Kennedy experience has been something is not saying that it's not the umpire's fault. It's when he's out there on the mound, something is occurring that's going crazy. It's not standard. He's allowing home runs. He's getting shelled by the umpire. He's hitting batters. Nothing has been smooth. There's always something happening first, and then he's getting the save. Or if he's not even in a save opportunity, he's getting rocked pretty damn good. That's not referencing that it's his fault solely. There's parts to this that's his fault for sure. Hitting a batter 2-2 when you know the circumstances right now, that's on him. But he got the strikeout he was looking for twice, and he got pretty much annihilated by Marquez, and that's a problem. I get it. I understand. That doesn't take away from when he's on the mound, we're all scratching our heads. We're all going, what the hell is happening? And we're all somewhat lost. And we're asking questions to the people next to us. What's going on there? I don't know, man. This guy's an idiot. Does this guy even know what the hell he's doing? I'm talking about the umpire there, not Ian Kennedy. But it's okay to say that Ian Kennedy, it's crazy. It's crazy is what it is. I never feel confident. It's always shaky. But I guess you can look at it this way. One, there's not enough of a sample size of Ian Kennedy here in Philadelphia, and that's fine. But I go back to this with him. When Ruben Amaro Jr. mentioned that Hector Neris is not a closer on a playoff team, and he doesn't look at Hector Neris as a guy that is capable of shutting it down in a playoff moment. Fine. fair assessment. I don't necessarily disagree with him. I think he's a very valuable bullpen piece, though, and he's somewhat finding his area in that sixth inning spot. He's kind of finding a comfortable spot, which is important with this team. That's pretty damn clear. That is important. I don't know if Ian Kennedy is a closer on a playoff team. He might be a closer, but he might be a closer on a Rangers team. He might be a closer, but he might be a closer in an organization that's not making a run. And I don't think that's being too harsh. I get it. He hasn't technically blown a big one yet for this Phillies team. But he's still been uncomfortable. And there's no way that you can sit here and make the argument that when he's on the mound, you feel, hey, the Phillies are in good shape. Maybe better shape than they once were, but I don't know if that's saying a lot. That might just tell you how bad they once were. And I still like Archie Bradley more, but I got to give it to Ian Kennedy. He did have some velocity going today. You're looking up at the gun and the radar. It's like, okay, 95. I'm seeing 95. There was some heat involved for sure. Because one of the reasons why I want to go to Archie Bradley is because I think he can give you that 95, that 96. I guess the only difference is with Ian Kennedy, well, against the Mets specifically, he's throwing 93 right over the middle of the plate, and you're no longer playing the New York Mets anymore. You might be able to get away with that against the New York Mets. Can you against the Dodgers? Well, I thought he had some better pitches for sure. I will say, those pitches that he got screwed on, they were legitimate, really, really, really solid pitches. Those were legit pinpoint accuracy pitches. We talk about command a lot of the time, mostly the lack thereof with Aaron Nola, Vince Velasquez, and some of these pitchers that are underperforming. Maybe Vince Velasquez is just normally performing, and that's his skill level. Aaron Nola not playing up to his capabilities. But when you think about some of those pitches, that was perfect. Perfect. It's unfortunate, for sure. Well, let's go the other side of that, though. Fortunate and catching position and trying to somehow tie Ian Kennedy to catching and Knapp and JT. Perfect. What a great transition. Probably my smoothest ever. No concussion. I didn't know what to expect with this team. Probably the worst case scenario with injuries. Someone's on, someone's off. Someone's on, someone's off. Someone comes off, JT goes on. Well, good thing he's not going to because the concussion. I saw him, when we were watching the game, I saw him warming up when Andrew Knapp was putting on the gear still, and he was taking the pitches, and me and my buddy kind of looked at one another. Well, if JT Realmuto is behind the plate right now, you'd imagine he's not sitting there with any sort of concussion. Now, I checked my phone after the game was over and basically saw that was announced prior to the game starting. But, yeah, that's monstrous news for this team that's trying to get themselves back on track and get healthy. So, this game specifically, I thought it was very big. I don't want to overlook it, right? I'm not going to tell you this means now the Phillies are going to win the World Series, but at the same time, there was a bit of deflation involved in that last two games, right? They got annihilated pretty good. They weren't really involved. Well, you got to salvage this bad boy. Winning 1 of 3 against the Dodgers after the run you just went on, that's fine, but it's about the bounce back, right? And you got to have to keep your head above water right now and then get to that back end of the season. That's basically what's going to make the difference. Stay involved, stay in the mix, stay where you are right now-ish, and then when you start getting into those Pittsburgh Pirates series, the Washington Nationals series, there's a Baltimore Orioles series, the Diamondbacks, you see the Diamondbacks as well a couple times. That's where you're going to pounce and kind of get as much separation as quite frankly you possibly can get in those stretch of games, but that's kind of what you're looking for. So keep your head above. I would love to see a series win here against Cincinnati, but you have to win one. I even mentioned this prior to these 6 games happening. 2 of 4 is not ideal, but it's not going to be a bad spot either. And I know that's hard to think, and it's not the easiest way to dissect things, but if you're objectively looking at the schedule and where the Braves are and who they're playing, where the Mets are, and you're just looking around at the surrounding pieces, it's not going to be the worst case scenario in the world if you go 2 and 4 in the next 6. You're gonna have to make up for them later on, but you have a better chance of making up for that later on. So let's get to just thinking about where this team is right now. With Ranger Suarez, his stat line ends up reading 4 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walk batters, and 4 Ks. I have to give Ranger Suarez a lot of credit. He's clearly working on the pitch count, clearly working on upgrading to an area where he can be a little bit more stretched out as a starting pitcher. But there's something to be said about the way that he is wired mentally. Give me the baseball. Give me the baseball. I like this day. I did. I like this day. I'm not telling you I love the entirety in terms of how many pitches he threw in those 4 1/3, and if we're looking about substance, but if you can stretch that out more, right, get to a point where you can throw more pitches than just 80 plus, even though 80 plus is still a decent amount considering they yanked him after 33 the other day. You could get through 5 at 100 pitches, and there's a big difference between, because the other day I said Aaron Nola 5 innings and 100 pitches. That's a disaster for Aaron Nola. Yeah, the difference is, too, he allowed 5 earned runs. If you go 5 innings, allow 1 earned run or 0 earned runs and 100 pitches out of your 4th starter or so, that's not the worst-case scenario in the world. I actually have a bit of a higher standard, to be honest with you, for Ranger Suarez. I think he can actually be a little bit sharper than that. I'm just saying, if you're thinking about, the back end of your rotation and you have, let's say, Wheeler, Nola, Gibson, and you still have Zach Eflin, Ranger Suarez, that's sort of your back end right now. Well, if that's a 5-inning type of outing, well, that's okay, for sure. So I'm just looking up right now how many pitches he ended up throwing at the end. 82. So 4 1/3. So if he can give you 90 pitches in 5 innings in that range, and like I said, that's sort of on like a okay day for Ranger Suarez. I think he can even be better than that. I've seen him be better than that. I've seen him be more efficient than that. 1,000%. It's in there. I'm just, kind of giving you more of a broad approach for Ranger Suarez and what he could possibly be. I'm just telling you right now, though, I love the way that his demeanor is. I love everything about the way that he has handled all of these situations that have been thrown his way, because it's definitely not easy. What is easy, though, is utilizing DraftKings Sportsbook. Yes, that is correct. Let me tell you about my friends over at DraftKings right now. Everyone's favorite time of the year is right around the corner, the college football season. To celebrate, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new players in the center of the action with $200 in free bets instantly if you bet $1 or more on any college football game. Take advantage of this limited-time offer right now. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Brodes to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any college football game. That's promo code Brodes to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Mentor's Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So when I was at the game, I pounded some good old Chickies and Pete's. I pounded some Stella Artois, if you will. Actually, the first one I had was a Michelob Ultra. Then I ended up getting a Stella Artois in the can. But those beers and those waters turned piss warm real quick. So you had to give it a good how do you do. You almost had to one-knee those bad boys as if you open up a gift and you think it's something good, but somebody actually ices you and you have a Smirnoff Ice and you got to go on one knee and just give it a good chug and make sure you eliminate it as quickly as possible. That's basically what you had to do with these beers and these waters because they turned grossly disgusting real quick. It's almost as if, too, we were laughing about it. By the time you end up having all these beers, right, you just sweat it right out. Where did that good feeling go after a couple date? You know what I'm saying? It's not there anymore because you just sweated it out within the first, 5, 10, 15 minutes of the entire game. Not that we had that many. I mean, it wasn't to that level, but I'm just saying, in general, the beers were just like, boom, before you know it, it was out of your system. What's going on here? All right, let's take a call from the Anytime Hotline here and hear what the reaction was after the game.
Hey, bro, it's a great win after a couple just bad games. Bryce Harper playing like NL MVP. Maybe he might win it. I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. is coming back today, but I think he's 2 for sure right now. Something that's interesting to me is the first game that Andrew Knapp catches, we keep the Dodgers to 1 run. And I just think that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see over the coming days how Andrew Knapp pitches with this pitching staff because I think he's actually a little bit underrated. He's not a good hitter at all. He's horrendous. But he actually works better with his pitching staff than Muto. So it'll be interesting to see how the pitching staff cooperates with him in the next coming days.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't justify the garbage that he provides at the plate and say that over what he does calling a game overpowers that. It's not even close, right? And I'm not saying that you're saying that. I know this has been somewhat of a minor discussion with this baseball team basically all season long is, does he call a better game than JT Realmuto? And there's something to be said about the way that he calls a game, but there's no way in hell he deserves any time, zero time, over a player caliber of JT Realmuto. And, I don't know what Marchand is. I don't feel great about Marchand at all. But with how Andrew Knapp has been this season, you could definitely make the argument that someone deserves a chance. But you nailed it. There is some sort of relationship and connection with Zach Eflin and, well, you didn't mention Zach Eflin, with Andrew Knapp and the pitching staff. I'm bringing up Zach Eflin because of their history and the way that they grew up through the system together. So they do have that feel and the way that they work together and they appreciate each other's work and whatnot. Andrew Knapp is garbage, though, and it's just that simple, and he's a hate to face, and he's basically the worst version of Andrew Knapp we've ever seen, and we've seen some hideous, gross, disturbing versions of Andrew Knapp. With Bryce Harper, though, well, what we're seeing now is the power really thriving. It feels a week ago or so I was questioning, how does he only have 15 home runs? How does he only have 16 home runs? He's been smacking the baseball around for sure, and he's been hitting for such a good average because at the time he had over a 300 batting average, and his OPS was rising through the roof in the entire major leagues. Just wasn't getting the home runs. With a blink of an eye, it's homer, 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 and that power just comes off the bat in any way, shape, or form. You want to go opposite field with it, he's going opposite field with it. You want to pull it into the second deck, it'll go in the second deck. Center field straight away, crushed almost into Ashburn Alley. Yeah, that can happen too. And for him to be the one to spark the club, I talk so much, especially against the Mets, about how you got to start this bad boy off. Jump on their throats. Well, the Dodgers can fight back when they're down. They have the talent level and the skill to do it, even on an afternoon game on a Thursday where it's not their greatest lineup, right? They can still, if you look through their lineup, though, and you're looking around, okay, well, Trey Turner, okay, Cody Bellinger's their seventh hitter, and I get it. He's been a little bit brutal this season, although he was on a hitting streak of a bunch of games in a row, and the long ball was starting to come back. So when I saw him up in the ninth inning, I did not feel real good about myself, and as much as his numbers are down, that's probably one of the worst scenarios I would want, is Cody Bellinger up with Ian Kennedy. Luckily, he almost pulled one, too. I mean, he pulled one almost too much. Not almost. It was too much, and it ended up rolling to the right there. But it was on it. I mean, he was on it, and it was there. Just missed it, though. Yanked it too far right. Did not want to see it. Getting back to that lineup. You see the Dodgers lineup, and they're powerful. Score early. Make a statement. We're here to play. We're here to win. We're here to salvage this bad boy. All right? You guys won the series, fine. We're going to try and get this nosebleed to stop. Put a little tissue up the nose. They did it. Now let's see what happens against Cincinnati. With that being said, I want to thank everybody so much for listening, and I will see you next time.